Man, we move podcast. We back, episode 21. John Whitley back in the building, man. How you doing, Big John?
I'm wonderful, my brother. It was great. It was great seeing you and Ian and Justin and the other boys this weekend for Robbie's bachelor party. It was good to get the boys back together.
Yeah, shout out to Robbie. Marriage coming up in a couple of weeks to Rachel. Shout out to Rachel. We went down to Curry Beach. Kicked it on the beach. A lot of relaxing. A lot of relaxing. So yeah, so we were kicking it on the beach, Curry Beach. Good to see you as well, man. We back on the pod, man. We have been on the pod since the championships. Everything happened. Shout out Las Vegas. You know, the Las Vegas Drown, your Florida Panthers, your Miami team, and then your Miami Bam put on for 2-5, but the Denver Nuggets beating them both series going 5 games. Man, why don't you go ahead and talk about Denver, Miami? Heat culture. I know you were rocking with Bam. He really did have a good NBA Finals. How did you feel that went?
I thought it was a pretty entertaining series. I think all of us had said it was going to be 5 or 6.
Yeah.
We were kind of pushing for 6 just for entertainment purposes, but I think we all thought that Denver was not only the best team in the league, but I mean, just playing Miami. I thought Miami had kind of used up all their luck tokens, if you will, in the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Denver was a different animal this year for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think Miami though, they were a testament though, like even for all the young kids watching or listening, whatever. I mean, that culture and togetherness. Look how far they went. I think it was an entertaining series as well. I think Miami, man, if they just had a couple more pieces here or there, to counter Denver, then it's a different series. But I think that's really what was the difference is just the talent gap. I think Eric Spoelstra, I think the Heat, like you said, they really did push themselves in those first 3 rounds and really played to their full potential. And I think they kind of ran out of luck. I won't say luck, but they ran out at the end, if that makes sense though. But yeah, how you AAU season's full swing, huh?
Full swing, yes, sir.
Full swing. How you feel that's going so far?
It's going good. AU's kind of a weird deal with so you kind of start in Marchish, go
Mm,
through April and May, and then June is a big high school month. So this month we've haven't really done much of anything because the guys have been back with their high schools and working out and practicing and tournaments. So we hadn't done a lot in June, and so it's kind of weird where you don't do anything in June and then you pick back up pretty heavy in July.
yeah, I was gonna say you go
Um,
full tilt in July, don't you?
yeah, July is a big one because it's got the couple live periods for kids to get for schools to come see the kids.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I feel like where are y'all going?
We are going to Fort Mill, South Carolina, so it's right outside of Charlotte.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know one thing too though. Like I feel like if anything, I don't know the kids probably too busy on the TikTok or the on the Fortnite, but the
The
only thing
shadow boxing.
yeah, yeah, the shadow box and the finger vibes. I don't know. I'm getting old. I can't keep up with everything. But I know one thing I would tell for the kids is just July, any period, is just about winning, man. Your team wins. Further you go, you play winning basketball. That's kind of how you get scholarships. And if you play to win, if you worked on your game hard enough, then I think the offers will come. I don't know. So if you got any words for the kids from the We Move pod is just like control what you can control when it comes to your game, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, one
I was
thing,
gonna ask you. I was
yeah,
gonna ask you
yeah,
while I'm thinking about it, because I like getting people's opinion, and I don't know if there is a right answer.
mm-hmm,
Um, so like say it's May or June, you got AAU basketball, you
mm-hmm,
got high school basketball.
mm-hmm,
Most everybody that plays basketball does football.
yeah,
Um, then just time to be a kid and enjoy the summer.
yeah,
There's really no time for rest. I guess I'm getting at. So I was wondering what your thought on because we've had kids where it's like I go to football in the morning, then I go to high school basketball after that, and then that night I got eight. They're doing like 3 practices in a day, and your body just if your body's not built for it, it'll just shut down. So I
yeah.
was wondering, you know, in the the era of all these games, what do you think the balance of multiple sports and all that is?
I mean, I don't know. For me, I think there was a certain point in time where I did have to pick. You know, it just depends on what type of talent you are. I did have to pick a sport, but at the same time, kids are young. You know, if they want to do it, they should just go at it full force. There are a lot of things when I was playing football. I didn't play baseball for as long, but playing football that translated over into basketball. I think the main thing is though, just making sure you get your sleep. You know, that's essential. Make sure you do that, and then when you do get your downtimes, that you make sure you do rest and recuperate as much as you know you go hard. But if your kid really wants to do that, I think the conversation needs to be had because like I feel like a lot of kids they go through it like they just like okay, this is just the next season. Like you can't go halfway into it. You know what I mean? Like I think if every conversation, every parent, every coach just has like little simple complications, not saying that the kid has to pick one, but just saying like, hey, if you're gonna do this, like there's gonna be some sacrifice. And like for me, it was like when I had to find the balance. Is like I go to football season, like all I'm thinking about is football, all I'm playing football, and like I wasn't finding that balance. Like you know, there is like whether it's your form shooting, you know, little things like that. So I think it's up to the kids, parents, coaches to be aware of like what a kid is playing, and like you know the kid's gonna always want to play, but just being mindful. Hey, if this kid plays a lot of sports, like maybe today instead of him going so hard, he's just on the side for him, shooting, working on his game. And same for football too. I know their season, the football coaches are always gonna be like, "Well, we take priority. Our season's coming up." But just also being mindful that these are kids. At the end of the day, you can't run them into the ground. So part of it is on the adults, but like also just having that conversation with the kid, like, hey, if you really want to do this, like it's gonna take a lot. So I think that's my opinion on it. Is it does take a lot, but whether it's when we're in the van going to trips, like instead of you up, you know, shadow boxing or whatever, you know, you get that nap in, or you know, I don't know, like Normatec or whatever, you get your you know, whatever you need to do to get your body right and get your mindset there because you never know, especially July coming up. Like, hey, this might be the college coaches like lasting impact on you, so you want to be really fresh for that. So it's a balance, but I think conversations are important, honestly, bro. You know what I mean? You have those conversations and you realize my dad really sat me down, like, hey, if you want to do this, like, you know, kind of guiding me in to make a decision because they're at that age where they're still kids, but you know, they do have the voice on what they want to do and what they can do. So it's just one of those situations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I guess every kid might be different. There's a kid from Reedsville that's
Mhm.
he's a rising sophomore. He just got his fifth star in basketball, and he
Right.
has football offers from Alabama, Ohio State,
Yeah.
Florida. Like, so I
Yeah.
mean, he's
That's
like a five
yeah.
star in two sports. So like, you know, he
Yeah.
can do whatever he wants to do. But just for
Yeah.
like the regular kid, because my thing is, I'm not against them playing other sports. I do think when you get to like 11th grade, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you might need to pick unless you're, you know, Bo Jackson or,
Yeah.
you know, the guy I just mentioned. But I
Yeah.
just like in the summertime, especially as a basketball player, I think it's very basketball specific because it's so skill driven with ball handling, shooting
Yeah.
that can't be replicated unless you put the time in.
Yeah. No, it
And
can't. And
in
that's
in the summer, if you're doing football workouts, AAU is not skill development. High school, you know, high school, you're just getting ready for games. It's just games, 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 and games are great. I just think there's got to be because I mean, games do. I mean, competition makes you better, but I think there does need to be some type of like middle of, you know, I got to get 300 shots or you know,
yeah.
what you know, whatever.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, when it comes to that, like, yeah, you have to get your work in. Like, nothing can really, I don't know, like, for me, though, it was a little bit different because for football, I was naturally, like, my freshman year before Apex, like, I showed up, like, right when fall camp was starting. Like, 4 weeks, I was all basketball, school team. Like you said, working out with my dad, working out with trainers. Like, it was all AAU. And then, like, when I'm done with that, then I'm coming to, like, it was like, I was kind of reverse. Not every kid is like that. I was fortunate enough, like, I feel like I was naturally talented where I came in and, yeah, you're a little bit behind in football, but it was a lot easier for me to catch up. I think, like you said, if you're a freak, like, you know, if you're a freak athlete, ride it out, like, as long as you can. But I also feel like, I don't know, I would tell all kids if I had to pick one, I probably would roll with basketball unless you're like five-star quarterback, like can't miss football. If you're like LeBron James and well, not LeBron, but if you're like Zion in basketball, and you're like um Dylan Raiola or one of these top quarterbacks,
Aaron Nolan.
Aaron Norland, shout out Big Air. If you're like one of these guys, then it's like, okay, you play the sports as long as you can if you have the offers coming in. But if you don't have interest in either one, or if you have more interest in one, if you don't have interest in either one, you need to figure out, have those real conversations with your parents, your coaches, like, hey, who am I? Like, what am I? You know what I mean? What am I better at? And they'll probably tell you, and then you just, or whichever one you love more, and then you just ride out and go full swing with that. But like you said, though, like that skill work is unmatched, especially in basketball, because there's so many kids that play it. You absolutely have to get your skill work in, and that's like I don't know if it's on your coaches. For me, I always felt like you have to take the initiative. Like I used to wake up in the summer and I used to walk to the Y, or like get a ride to the Y, and like if my parents, like if they had to go to work, I'll just be at the Y all day. And like if people come in, the little kids camps come in, and I'll just sit to the side while they're doing whatever they're doing. Or I'll go up and we're lifting the gym, or I'll run on the treadmill or something. And if I had to wait for a ride, and then I would just be in the gym, like on those days in the middle of the summer, like when I didn't have football or anything, I'll just be playing pickup. Like I was just there. And like, I'm working on my floaters. Like, if I only have like just one goal, like I'm just working on my floaters over there. It really, you do have to, especially with basketball, because it's such a skill driven sport, especially like, I don't know, I'm assuming from what I know, most of your players probably are like guards or wings who, like, if we're being honest, they're 100 in every American city that are probably pretty good. And like, or, that's probably exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. And like, you have to stand out some way. So whether it's working on your left hand, like whatever you can do, kids definitely you have to go out your way. There aren't kids that can just, like how you say, you can't just play games and just think like, okay, like my talent will get me to the next level. Like you have to do something more. And even that might not be enough, because basketball is such a tough sport to make it. But whatever feel like your specialty is, even for the kids to play football, if you're staying after practice, you need to stay after and run routes or catch passes on the jugs, or if you're on the O line or D line, work on your footwork, or if you're, whatever you're doing. I think in every sport you have to put in your extra work to be special. There's too many kids out here to play these sports that are getting trained year round, and that's the tough part, is that when you play so many sports, it's tough because there's kids that play year round, and it takes a lot to pass those guys. So for me, when I was 14, I remember the football coach at Huff, prestigious school, asking me, hey, are you playing football this year? And I was just like, I'm looking to my left. I see, Myron Corey Bell, whose dad, Myron Bell, played for the Steelers. Mark Fields, he played at Chapel Hill and then ended up transferring to Elon. I'm looking and seeing to my right, and I see Mark Fields II, who was an Under Armour All-American, who went to Clemson. I'm looking and seeing like this guy, AJ Behringer, who didn't make it to college, but he was a dog, all-conference, hard-hitting safety. I'm looking, I'll see Adam Smith, one of my great friends to this day, playing James Madison. I'm like, you know what? Like, and these guys, working with Choch, like legendary Charlotte defensive backs coach Van Smith played for Clemson. Like, I mean, these guys played at the top of the top. Marquil Osborne, one of my great friends, 4-star Under Armour All-American. Mark was an Army All-American. Marquil was a 4-star Under Armour All-American. Went to Tennessee. Like, I'm seeing these guys, they're working with him every day. I'm like, bro, I'm hooping, bro. That's like I can't catch up to that gap. That gap is too big. So I think a lot of kids, especially like, because I don't come from like a town like Washington or Greenville where a lot of your kids are from, but I come from like, Cary, like you live near there, and like it's like not a ton of great like football or basketball athletes come out of there. Maybe like baseball or soccer or something like that, lacrosse, different sports like that come out of that town. So like, football, it's like, okay, I was a better athlete at basketball. I'm just good at that. But when you get to Charlotte, like that's what
gets real.
Account, like, Charlotte, different parts of even different parts of Eastern North Carolina, Scotland County, Richmond County,
Yeah.
You know, like down there.
And Shelby, we were talking about Shelby this weekend.
Yeah, Shelby. Yeah, Shelby. Like Lake Norman area, South Carolina. All the kids have to take into account that, like, man, these kids, like, they really all year 7-on-7, like going down to like, you know, we're about to talk about college football, going down to the Mario camp, going up to Ohio State. Like these kids 7-on-7 all summer. Like, you know what I mean? Like training camps. Like these kids training so it's hard. It's hard. You have to be really special to do both. But yeah, I didn't mean to go on a tangent and talk about it as long as I did, but to answer your question, you definitely have to, you know, you have to mark out your time to get your work in. You absolutely have to. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. A lot of people ask, and it for me, if you would ask me at 8 years old what I want to do, I want to play in the NBA. I want to go Division One back. Like, but I understand like a lot of kids, like that's pretty rare. A lot of kids that, I mean, I didn't even do like T-ball. I didn't do any seconds of football.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know sports, but I did take I had my little table tennis stint, and then I mean it was basketball, basketball, basketball.
Right.
But I know most kids want to, or they kind of dabble around, and um, it's just kind of to your point. Basketball is just, and I even like a golf. Like golf is all skill.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do golf, like you can't go play something for 4 months, because when you come
No.
back, you're going to be
No. Yeah. Yeah.
all over the course.
Yeah.
And
No.
not to say that football is not skill, but like if you're a receiver, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know football, I never played football, but like, I mean, being fast, like, work on your speed, that's like what you do in basketball. Lifting weights, you
Yeah.
probably do that for another sport. It's like, I mean, if you can catch, you can catch or not. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you can get your hands better with the jugs, but like,
Right. Yeah.
you can either catch or you can't. I mean, I'm sure like routes you can practice, but like, how much is it? You don't play defense. If you're a
Yeah.
receiver, how much do you work on being a receiver every single day? Like specifically, like, I don't know. Am I wrong in that thinking?
Well, I mean, it just depends on how much how dedicated you are to football. You could definitely work on it a good bit, but like I would probably say if I'm a receiver, if let's just throw a situation out there. If I'm a receiver and I'm like a sophomore, right? Or a junior, let's say I'm a junior. And I played varsity football last year, kinda. I was okay and I was pretty good. But like I was on either JV basketball, I got called up. Like I feel like for me, yes, you can work on your football game, but like also I think basketball, like we used to do football ladder drills, that helps with your routes and stuff. Like I think that you can, depending on how much dedicated you are, you can work on football for quite a bit, especially like around this time going into the season. But I also think there was probably time for you to, get in your work with basketball, So I think that
Yeah.
would be the case. Like, yeah, yes, you can. It depends. Guys can lift weights. You know what I mean? You can lift weights. You can run on the track. So yeah, you can put in a lot of that time to football. It's just I don't know how many kids are. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't
Sure.
tell you that. I know that like a lot of my friends, like Adam Smith, Josh Smith, like Marquell Osborne, Matt Stevens, like a lot of my guys that play football, like their summertime around this time, but they were just strictly football. Their summertime was wake up, lift with the team, have practice with the football team, maybe train after, like, afternoon sessions with shots. So they were 1,000% fully into it. So I do think if you're really one of those guys and you can put in that time for sure. But like you said, for me, I agree with your point though. If you're a football player, you probably cannot work on football for a good little bit and still be fine. You know what I mean? If you're a
Yeah.
basketball
Yeah.
player, that touch, having the ball on your fingertips and like getting a feel for your handle, like if you don't do it a lot, you can lose it real fast. And I agree. It's like you said, you did a perfect analogy. Like it's like golf. If you don't work on your golf swing, unless you're, me on the back nine the past weekend. But no, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm taking mental reps all the time, and I'm not great at golf. So let's not. Yeah, you're right though. If you don't put work on your game, if you don't work on it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. So for me, if I'm a football player, basketball, you should at least be doing something, whether it's form shooting or something year
Yeah.
round. And if you're going to try to play everything, you should at least be getting your basketball work in at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your boy Adam play for Coach Houston? at
Yeah,
Caleb
he
Bowden?
did. He did play
For
for
real?
Coach Houston. Yeah.
He like him?
Yeah. He likes Coach Houston. Coach Houston is demanding. He's very demanding. But they won. I mean, they won a national championship together. And but yeah, no, he's a fan of Coach Houston. He wishes him well, going forward. But he definitely. I mean, they work. They work like a national championship level program did, which is good. It's good to hear that East Carolina's working like that. So he's pushing those guys, and hopefully, we can see our alma mater, achieve success. So that's the kind of the perfect segue, though, Jay Witt. Shout out to you for the segue. It's time to
Hey,
talk college
hey.
football. Y'all know we hadn't had John on the pod, man. So you throw the carrot out there that we're gonna be talking some college football. That'll get them riled up. So
2
July
months,
is
bro. 2
here.
months.
We just went through the Elite 11. We haven't talked Ohio State football. The future's looking bright. We lost Dylan Raiola. We got Aaron Nola. We got Jeremiah Smith. We got a top 5 class. July's coming up. Eric just came on his official visit last week. I will say, I don't know if I said this on the pod, so let's just go ahead and get it out there before I turn it over to John. I am very nervous about the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of Kyle McCord. Me and John will get into it probably here in these next 15, 20 minutes, however long we go for. But the Buckeyes have been on a run of generational. If they haven't been generational in the NFL, they've been generational or very good in college, for probably 12 to 15 years on a run right now. So, I'm nervous with McCord. He's played, I think he has played in probably 14 or 15 games, most of them blowouts. He started one game against Akron. Wasn't fantastic. His stats are good, but a lot of those were screen passes to Garrett Wilson. Wasn't great in the spring game. Looks like it's going to be him. I don't know. Devin Brown is in the fight. It's interesting to kind of see what he'll do, but I'm nervous about the Buckeyes. We go on the road to Notre Dame this year. We go on the road to Wisconsin. We go up on the road to the team up north. So I'm nervous, but I'm holding strong in faith. Years like this, they might surprise me. But to turn it over to you, Jay Witt, how's the Miami recruiting going? You just sent the text, the warning shot this morning. Hey, Miami is when July is when the big fish commit. Everybody knows John Whitley, big Mario Cristobal, big Miami guy. 5-7 last year, first year. Van Dyke back, hopefully healthy. Recruiting starting to surge. 2 stud safeties back there. Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I do want to preface though. You say you're nervous about Ohio State. Ohio State fans are that's like Carolina basketball or Duke basketball fans saying things are gonna get bad because we're only gonna get to the Sweet 16 this year. When you have a run, we were talking about the quarterbacks this weekend, man. Was it Miller, Barrett, Haskins, Cardell Jones, Fields, and Stroud, the last 6?
Yeah,
I can't. There's no way any of those 6 were outside the top 10 in the country, best quarterbacks in the country. I would say it's pretty fair to say I've had 6 straight top 10 quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah, definitely top 10. Definitely top 10. Some might be top 5, but definitely top 10. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, Stroud and Fields top 5.
Yeah.
Braxton Miller was pretty special. I mean, they were all special. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
All of them played in the NFL at some position, maybe not Barrett.
Some point. Barrett was with the Saints for 1 year. So
okay, so all played in the NFL. Yeah, that's a pretty special run. Miami hosted a lot of dudes this June, especially. I would love to see the bill for just seeing all these kids, hotels, and the flights and the food.
yeah.
I mean, to not land some of these kids and having to put all the money out. I think it was like 12 5-stars were on campus just in June. The goal is and this is what the staff has said. So last year, their goal was to land the best offensive line recruiting class in the country, which they went and landed 2 5-stars. So they were in the argument there. And then the goal this year is to land the best defensive line class in the country. And they're in the top 3 or 5 for a bunch of, I think it's 5 or 6 defensive linemen. One of them's Marquise Lightfoot. I don't know if you've heard that name. I think he's pretty close between Ohio State and Miami.
I've heard the name.
He's somewhere in the top 100. But yeah, they've they got 13 guys committed right now. I think it's only 3 4 stars and then or 3 4 stars and then a bunch of threes. So it's kind of like the bottom half of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, kind of like you were saying, July is when the big boys start to commit. And then there's definitely some dream guys out there that I think would turn to, like, especially the local South Florida kids, like a Jeremiah Smith. Everybody said he's locked on Ohio State, which is true. I do think if Miami went out and maybe went to the ACC championship game, and that's the hometown school, I think it makes guys like that think twice. But they're probably still. Kind of like Brandon is. Did he want to be a Hurricane if Miami was nationally relevant? Probably. Who wouldn't want to stay home and play for the hometown team instead of having to go to Ohio? Not that, obviously all have great things going on, but I think Miami is a year or two away from guys that don't want to be a part of a process. I think the recruiting pitch is still, you can come in and play right away. If you go win 8 or 9 games, it's like, we have a chance to, this next year take that step to being, playoff contender or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I think guys like Jeremiah Smith and guys like Brandon Ennis, the only thing, I know we've talked about this a little bit off pod, but I think the difference between Ohio State is you got a guy like Brian Hartline here who's developed receivers, some of the best receivers who are in the NFL right now, Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Curtis Samuel, Paris Campbell, just to name a few. So I think a lot of that is the draw there. How do you feel? I think I know your answer, and I think I've seen some of the moves just following recruiting. But just how do you feel about, Miami developing a passing game, offensive style that, because for so many years you guys were dominant defensively when you were winning national championships, where, they were like, well, I don't know, just, roll whatever out there. You guys had great running backs. You guys had good receivers that were great in the NFL. But, the game was so much different back then. How many teams were running the spread in the early 2000s and the 90s when the U was winning these natties, where, like, I know there's been those flashes, the Malik Rozier year, the Ja'Cory Harris, where the offense looks potent here and there. And, there's been stud guys, a receiver and tight end for sure, at Miami for years. So how do they get back to that? What moves have they made back to that? Because I think at the moment, yes, Miami not having the success, but I think Jeremiah Smith, different guys, they see the offensive game, their style and the game plan, and quarterbacks checking around, receivers getting to the NFL. How do you feel about Miami's shift in that? Like, are the coaching, I know the OC and the receivers coaches, how are those guys looking? I know you mentioned it off pod, but go ahead and give the pod some of the intel as well. Like, how do you feel like a Van Dyke season? How do you feel where you feel like his ceiling is?
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with you. I think to land those alpha wide receivers, they're going to have to see something different. It sounds like pretty early in the season last year, it was evident that Josh Gaddis was not a fit for Miami. And, on paper, it looked great. It's like Mario Cristobal just went and stole the offensive coordinator of the year from Michigan, who, had a great season. So, like, it's a home run. But it just didn't fit. I don't know if it was personnel. I don't know if it was personality. But yeah, to land like the big fish like a Smith or an Ennis, and I don't know if you've heard of Josiah Trader. He's he's one of Jeremiah Smith's teammates.
Yeah, he's one of his teammates.
Yeah, is he? Are they Chaminade Madonna? Is that where they are?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's going to be a Florida State Miami battle down the stretch. I do think Miami hadn't landed a true wide receiver one in a long time. I don't know if you remember Amon Richards. He played in 2016
the neck injury.
and then had to quit. But I think he was a 1,000-yard guy as a true freshman. He was probably the last legit wide receiver one. And I think these guys just need to see the new system. I think they need to see Van Dyke be accurate, or whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah.
A lot of people say good things about Shannon Dawson. He's supposed to be a spread with it's like a spread with the power run, which Mario's obsessed with. He's an offensive line guy. He likes to run it down people's throat. That's what he wants, to dominate the line and run the ball, spread it out. But it is crazy that a school like Miami in that area hadn't been able to just go get a dude that can just, go get him the ball and let him go be special.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think if they show, some of these guys, they just got to go win. 5-7 sucks, and I think it allows you to, say, hey, you can come play here right away, which guys want to hear. But then there's some guys that are like, I'm already special. I can go to Ohio State and compete for a national championship right away and
yeah,
still start because they're just that good.
yeah. And I think like what you said though, I think I've been saying this for years. I've said it to you. I think if Miami taps into a spread offense where the kids like say this year, right? You guys go like you said, you guys have a successful year. I don't know exactly what that looks like in terms, but 8 wins or better, right?
Yeah.
Like at least. And the offense is like you said, they got the power run going. That's all good and well. And like receivers, if you're a receiver, you're a play receiver, you know you're gonna need a block. That's part of it too. That's one thing I love about Coach Hart. He always stresses those Coach Hart line. Can't say Coach Hart. Coach Hart up there, Mike Hart up there, coaching up there in Ann Arbor. So, but y'all know who I'm talking about. When I say Coach Hart, the real Coach Hart. But he stresses like so receivers need to do that too. But if you see the Miami offense running the spread, like you said, airing it out, and those kids start to see
Yeah.
that, I say even that speeds up the process because you're like, oh snap, this is new. You might, you're not. I don't think you're getting Jeremiah Smith, but you might get guys
Yeah.
flipping and things like that. But one thing that does worry me about Ohio State recruiting is it's like this sounds like like this sounds spoiled. Obviously, just like me saying being worried about sounds spoiled. But like guys like Jeremiah Smith, they come in. I mean, you got this year we got Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis coming in. Carnell Tate had a touchdown in the spring game. Noah Rogers from Roseville, right up the street from where you live, he came in, had a touchdown in the spring game. Plus, we didn't even have any of our top 4 receivers. We didn't have Julian Fleming, Emeka Ibuka, and then Marvin played like a couple drives. And then you got guys who have been there as well, like Jaden Ballard, all these guys that have been there. So like it's almost like is the room too loaded? Does Ennis come in and but I trust in Coach Hartline and hopefully those guys can be patient and they know that their time is coming. But you could even see a guy like Ennis, why wouldn't he, you see that? Who's to say he doesn't pull a Quinn Ewers and just like, okay, I came to Ohio State, good NIL, woo, we had a good season. Okay, I'm back to the crib now. Like you could also see that if you see if you see a big change coming. But I don't know, man. We'll see though. We'll see going forward,
Well,
man.
that's the positive. The positive, winning is more important than recruiting. But as far as
Yeah.
recruiting goes, that's the positive of going 5-7 because obviously you were lacking in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a starting spot right away, and I do think Jeremiah Smith. All those guys were good. Ennis is a dog. I assume Emeka and Marvin will be gone after this year. Are they both third-year guys?
Yeah. Marvin is third year. Fleming is like going into his 4th, and Emeka is the third year too. So the expectation is for all 3 of them to leave.
Yeah, I mean Jeremiah Smith, he's a dog. Like I would expect him to be one of the best receivers in college football next year as a true
Yeah.
freshman. Honestly,
Yeah.
he's a special talent. And I mean you're in a good place though. Like you're worried about a 5-star leaving because another 5-star beats him out. It's
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever you just throw that competition and then you're in a good spot with whoever ends up
Oh yeah.
staying or
No.
ends up starting.
Yeah. No.
It's a
100%.
good problem to have for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a good problem to have for sure. But I think, like I said, it's a year that I could definitely see the vision. I could see the vision. For me, I think the big thing though, like for really both of our teams, is really just how the quarterback's gonna perform if they can stay healthy and how they're gonna perform. So let's go ahead. Before I let you go ahead and clock out, how you feel about Van Dyke's season coming up?
I'm excited. Miami went and signed Javian Cohen, left right guard from Alabama. He started 2 years at Alabama. Matt Lee's the highest rated returning center in the country, transfer from UCF.
Mm,
Got the 2 5 stars. The offensive line is supposed to be, from all accounts I've heard, top 2, if not 1 in the ACC.
mm.
So he's got a good line. Tight end should be good. Still missing the alpha receiver, but I'm thinking it'll be closer to 21 than 22 Van Dyke. And looking back to the 21, Charleston Rambo was a dog. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he made Tyler Van Dyke, but he was a really good receiver. Mike Harley was a really good receiver.
Mm,
So the wide receiver room was a lot better in 21. and then lose both of them. The offensive line wasn't good, and then you pair that with a Van Dyke that's not the most mobile. He's not he's not a statue, but he's not
Mm.
a super fast, elusive guy. So I think it's somewhere closer to 21. He had a pretty insane run to end 21. I wasn't that good, but I think with I don't know if he goes 30 touchdowns to 12 picks, maybe. I think he gets drafted. I think 6'4", 6'5". He's got really good arm strength.
Yeah.
If Miami wins some games, I think he stays healthy. I think he gets drafted and Miami's on to the next.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I hear that. Well, that's really all I had really for you on the pod. Do you have anything to leave the folk with? You got anything for me? I'm not gonna ask you right now. I'll ask you in August or when we get closer about the schedule talks. But how do you have anything for the people though? Like for me before you clock sign out?
You definitely can't do the prediction now. I think there's another portal window before the season starts. So Mario's got tricks up his sleeve now. He'll bring somebody in August full of caper now.
Yeah,
Full of caper.
yeah.
Which side note, kids transfer in August right before the season is
Yeah.
insane. But
Oh, it's
whatever.
crazy. Oh, I mean,
Good
we
luck to.
had Javon Quinterly just transferred in the middle of the summer on him. He just hit him in the
I saw that. Or at least basketball until November. Kids
yeah.
be transferring football in August with the season starting
Yeah,
in
yeah,
August.
yeah. I
It's
don't
like
even know how
where
that works for this like schooling. Like, how do you does the admission office do they just have rolling admissions? Is this something I didn't know about? Can I just go get into school like whenever I want in the middle of the semester? Like classes already started, bro. I don't know how that works, but football money talks. So
you gotta move your stuff, bro. You got
yeah,
like
yeah. Like, yeah. Can you imagine, like, if we had to just move out to Prague, like the middle, like summer, right before school, like the first week of school, like what? And then be at another school, like how does that work? So
yeah. It's college athletics is pretty wild, but
yeah,
it's just the nature of the business. But nah, I ain't got nothing, man. I just shout out to you, man. I love you, man. You're my brother. It was a great time this weekend. I'm praying for you in the job hunt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love you too, bro. I appreciate it. Everybody on the We Move Pod. Shout out to John Whitley, man. Great having you on, bro. We'll be back at it. We got an big episode dropping tomorrow, special guest. So I'm looking forward to that. So love you, man. It was great seeing you, man. I appreciate you hopping on, family.
Yes, sir. All right. I'll
All
talk to you
right,
later, bro.
all right, bro. I holler at you. Love you, man. Oh, John Whitley, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, now as you can see, the ball, Domsky. Wow. Yeah, as you guys can see, cut the hair. Just it was Tom. It was getting a little light up top, so I just had to keep it pushing, man. The ball fade. I think I'll grow into it eventually. But good to have John on to talk about college football, NBA Finals, a little bit about that. I'll talk about the NHL Finals. Shout out to Vegas Golden Knights, winning in 5. Taking care of the Florida Panthers. After Florida Panthers had a good little run. For me, I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights were just a dominant team. They were just more physical. They didn't respond to the Florida Panthers' antics, and they executed. I think the Canes might have gotten caught up in it a little bit in the conference finals, and then, I think they just didn't have the goal scoring. At the end of the day, Florida had all the clutch goal scoring, and the Canes didn't have, so no excuses. Well deserved for them, but yeah, no, that's kind of how I feel about it. It was a great run, a great run for the Panthers. Kachuk had a good little run. Obviously they had gotten roughed up a little bit. They got roughed up. They went against Vegas. Those Pietrangelo, Barbashev, those guys really, showed them, what it was and what the deal was. But the Panthers fought hard, man. It was a good run for them. Well-deserved run. Not the Kings, the Golden Knights are just a better team, bigger team, better team, stronger team. So that's kind of what I have for that. NBA draft. I like the Hornets draft. You know, a couple of more good teams. You know, I'm not a draft insider, so obviously excited to see Wemby. I think the Hornets did the right thing picking Brandon Miller. I think Scoot Henderson will be really good, but I do like what the Hornets did getting Nick Smith Jr. And it was huge. I think him and Brandon Miller could actually bring a lot. Sorry about that. I think they could bring a lot to the team. So, really excited about the draft. Really excited to see all the young players. I really don't really have much of a draft analyst insight. You know, we'll see when we get there. NHL draft is going on now. Columbus Blue Jackets getting Fantilli, which is exciting because everybody thought they were going to get Carlson. You know, I think he's from Sweden. But getting Fantilli is awesome. You know, pair him up with Kent Johnson, pair him up with Blankenship. That'll be exciting. Obviously, Connor Bedard, then the great the great white shark going #1. So I'm really excited to see that. But we got a pod dropping tomorrow, giving you back-to-back days. Special guests. This will be great. You know, insider from, you know, I won't tell you who it is, but you know, we'll get great inside knowledge. Someone who's in the professional sports world, kind of get, you know, a little insight. We'll sneak preview it. We'll get an insight on her, you know, knowledge, insight, motivation, and she's doing a lot of good things for this world. So excited to have her on tomorrow. You know, back-to-back days we move pod. We're keeping it rolling. It should be exciting times. So thank y'all for tuning in. We Move Podcast episode 21, Deion Sanders prime time. This is also the end of season 1. Brian say, thank y'all for taking this ride with me. I got 2 more for y'all. So season 1, that's the end of it. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Be safe out here, man. Hope everyone's enjoying the summer. Ball head activated. We out of here. Thank y'all.